Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hey there, welcome. Welcome. It's Friday. The 22nd of June. And I should tell you, I'm taking a 3-day weekend. I'm going to be out of town, so we'll start next week on Tuesday, which I, of course, will then think it's Monday, and then I'll be confused all week, which is what happened when I showed up for that event on a Saturday night when it was really on a Sunday night because I'd taken Friday off. I'll tell you, that's clearly a sign of my advanced age, I would guess. Okay, all you potheads, this one's for you. You want to move to Paraguay. Oh, no, not Paraguay. I always got them mixed up. Uruguay. Or is it Uruguay? Uruguay? Paraguay. I think it's Uruguay and Paraguay for no reason whatsoever. I'm sure they'd be the same. And one of them is landlocked. I think it's Paraguay. Who cares? Anyway, Uruguay, South American nation, somewhere there in the south of the continent. The president and, strangely, the defense minister have suggested that the war on drugs is lost, and consequently the state, the government, should take over the marijuana industry, essentially. And so they're assuming the parliament goes along with it, or the whatever their legislature is called, they're going to absolutely legalize it. It's already essentially decriminalized there. But they're going to hand over the distribution and the marketing of marijuana to the federal government. This would be the first nation to do such a thing. The president there says it's the only sensible thing to do. They're going to regulate it like they do alcohol. You have to be, 18 or 21, I think, 18. So it would be saleable to adults 18 and older at, essentially state stores. Would still be grown by private farmers who would then sell it to the state. And here's what the president of Uruguay says. That the prohibition of drugs and the violence that entails from that prohibition is causing more problems than the drugs themselves, which is so clear to anyone who's paying attention. Look at what it's done to whole nations. Look what it's done to Mexico. Look what it's done to Colombia, the ones that are feeding off of the criminalization and the drug cartels. You put them out of business immediately. I'm so glad at least somebody is going to start this ball rolling. Several countries in Latin America have much more liberal laws on small quantities of marijuana and even narcotics. if it appears that whatever it is a person has is simply for their own use, that they're not trafficking, they don't give a damn. They don't give a damn in Uruguay. They don't give a damn in Brazil. They don't give a damn in Argentina, and they don't care in Mexico. So, and it's interesting that the defense minister is the one who really came up with this and pushed it, because he says, it sure would make this a safer nation. I guess what do you have to defend yourself against in Uruguay? What does the defense minister do? Spoken like an obnoxious American, I might say. So there it is. Anyway, this isn't a done deal yet, but this looks like it will be a go, as was reported in the Wall Street Journal today. The laws of the market will rule. This is why the Wall Street Journal liked it. The laws of the market will rule, said the defense minister. Whoever sells the best product and the cheapest will end up with the drug trafficking, which is to say legal drug trafficking. So there you go. I've just got a lot of odds and ends. The Sandusky jury is, as we speak, continuing. We've got a call? Okay, forgive us if there's any problem here, which there will be. Hello? Hello? Okay. We're still trying to fix this. Actually, we're still trying to find the guy who's supposed to fix it. I hate that. So the Sandusky case is back with the jury. I mean, they've got so many counts that it could, take them some time. On the other hand, my gut tells me that they could also get through this pretty quickly. I mean, everything seems to certainly point to a conviction. I'm wondering why there was all these reports initially saying this is not a done deal. You never know. This guy could walk. And of course the bombshell with one of his own sons now stating that he too was molested and he would be willing to testify to that fact. Now, what's interesting is he didn't testify to that fact. All of this happened after the closing arguments were done and the jury was sent off to deliberate. So they don't know this. And I find that odd because it would have been the nail in the coffin. And I don't quite understand, but who knows what goes on behind the scenes. It was apparently the reason that Sandusky did not take the stand, because his defense team and he had been told that if you do, we're going to counter with your son. So, unbelievable the number of lives that man upended and harmed. And I would imagine he's going to be put away for the rest of his life. That's my guess. And if he's not, I'll consider it a abdication of the jury's duty to do justice. Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Hi, I know you can't hear.
Lynn.
Hi.
Isn't it amazing these people that do this type of thing always don't want to admit it. They always want to lie to get out of it. I think more of them, not that he's a great guy, if they admit they did it and that's the end of it. Take your punishment and that's the end of it,
Right.
No, they always got to lie their way out.
Exactly. Well, he isn't lying his way out of this. No way. No way. Hey, thank you for your call. I know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'm sure you're having trouble hearing me, although he was sweet enough not to say so. No, he couldn't hear me when nothing's changed. That's my guess. the thing that is so, it's been said before, the thing about not admitting it and owning up to it with Jerry Sandusky is that by forcing the trial, he essentially caused every one of his victims to be assaulted again, because instead of being able to retain their anonymity, he forced them into a public trial in which they had to go not only before this jury, but before. It's mind-boggling. What was he thinking? That he was going to get off? Unbelievable. I don't know what it is about the denial. I was wondering with the child, his own son, now saying that he had been assaulted. What kind of dynamic then that creates with his siblings? Because you wonder if maybe some of the other boys in the family had also been molested, but maybe had suppressed it or repressed it or not. What? I mean, I can't even conceive. And now this Sandusky, who will bear that name, this man's name all his life, I'm sure will be estranged, obviously, from his family. Certainly from his mother and his father. Oh, God. I mean, you just awful. Awful. And not to prolong it, but you want awful. Did any of you see this horrific video of this grandmother being taunted on a school bus by these 13-year-old boys? I'm assuming you've read about it. Tony Norman did a column today about it. And I hadn't seen it until I came in here, and I started to look at it. Jess couldn't look. She lasted about 30 seconds and said, I can't stand this. And the tape goes on for like 10 minutes, and it's simply of this grandmotherly-looking woman who was the bus monitor just being verbally assaulted. I mean, just saying right to her, and with all kinds of, effing, you're effing fat, you effing stink, you effing this, you effing that, you're going to die, you're going to blah, you're going to blah. And she never even reported it. So I guess she was willing to get on the bus the next day and suffer through that again. And for all, I haven't followed the story, so I don't know if in fact she had been subject to that kind of abuse before, but you have to bet she probably had. So this was, it's a video of bullies in action. And not only are they bullying her, but you have to figure that, and this is what Tony Norman points out, they also essentially were bullying every other kid on that bus. Because you have to believe that a lot of the children on that bus were horrified, but were afraid. Were afraid to step in, which is a shame. That's what bullies do. They create an atmosphere of total terror. They're terrorists. They're terrorists. And it takes exceptional people to stand up. That's always the case. With adults, with children, and anybody. Because to step up is to, of course, have the bullies turn on you. And you have to be willing to take the abuse that will come from stepping up, from doing the right thing, which can be verbal, but can certainly be physical as well. Unbelievable. So the only good news that comes out of this is, of course, that some guy in Toronto who saw the video, and I should say the video, of course, shot by a child on the bus, sitting next to one of the taunters. And that child, at least, exhibited some courage by clandestinely, I guess, using a cell phone to record what was going on, and obviously to do it to bring this into the light of day. But someone who saw it in Toronto then, put up a web page or something and said, let's, put some money together, let's donate money and help this woman take a little vacation, get her away and let her rest. And of course, I don't know what it's up to now, but when most papers went to print, it was pushing $400,000, which would be quite a vacation. But for this woman, and what the guy in Toronto said, this is just wonderful, because this is enough for her to retire. She didn't have to ride that damn bus ever again. For this woman, at least, the internet worked well. And this is one of the things that the internet does do, that you can shine a light on this kind of thing and bring justice, a measure of justice, to the perps and to the victims. And it does often happen. The negative of that is, of course, the internet itself can be used in the opposite way and can be used to bully. So, for everything, there's this, a positive use and a negative use, and humans being humans, there's always some that will use it for the negative, and I guess pessimists among us would argue that that'd be the majority. I would argue most people use things in a neutral kind of a manner, but it always seems like there's more bad guys. But that might be simply because they get the attention. And so it skews our perception of how many bad people are out there. As, the definition of news, it's not dog bites man, it's man bites dog. So it is the aberrational. It's that which is not the norm. So that would suggest then that most people behave themselves and treat others with a measure of kindness. I don't have a clue. But anyway, this poor woman in Buffalo, New York. Is it Buffalo? No, it isn't. It's called Greece, New York, but it's near where? Rochester. Near Rochester. Now, those boys, who I guess in that community will be identified, right? Everyone's going to know who they are. Although only one is really on video. Another's head seems to pop in although I couldn't look at the whole thing, so I don't know. They might find the tables turned on them, and they might find themselves on the receiving end of taunts, of shunning, of bullying, perhaps. Yes, hello, caller. Go ahead.
Hi.
Hi.
That bus bullying is going on for a long time. Hi, Lynn. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you.
The bus bullying has been a problem, and I know about 6 years ago when I was teaching, I reported an incident of bullying on the bus. It was one of my students, and I also got on the bus and told the children that the bullying would stop, and that if it didn't, I was going to call their parents and tell them they could no longer ride the bus. Well, the following day, I was called into the principal's office and told not to go onto the bus, that was not my job. And my problem is, if the students are not going to be held accountable, if they're not going to be punished, then this will continue to go on.
Of course.
Apparently my student had punched someone the day before, and they had that on tape because they do tape some of these incidents, and I think he was trying to defend himself from the bullying. But it's a vicious cycle. you're not going to contact the parents, and the children are not going to be held accountable, there's no way to stop this.
Well, now, who decided to, call you on the carpet for going on the bus? How did it...
The principal.
And he found out that you'd gone on the bus because...
Yes, and told me that I was no longer permitted to go on the bus when I had bus duty.
Even when you had bus duty? You were not
yes,
to go on the bus?
Yes, I was to walk them to the bus, but I was not to get onto the bus. Apparently, some of the students had gone home and complained to their parents, and they had me on the tape reaming out the students, telling them that they had a privilege to ride on that bus. It was not a right. And if they abused that privilege, then I was going to make sure they weren't able to ride that bus.
Oh, this is a depressing story. So this is what we hear all the time. So you attempt to get control of the kids. The kids go home and tell their parents. The parents freak out that you dared to say whatever you said to the kids. And then the principal essentially takes the parents' side.
Well, I hollered at the students, and apparently you're not allowed to do that. I went to Catholic school, and there was no...
You could holler.
There were no bullying problems in Catholic school. It just didn't go on because we knew that there would be a punishment.
You mean you're not allowed to scream at kids?
Well, I didn't scream. I used my very deep teacher's voice.
Yeah, you're scary.
But I don't scream. I never was a screamer.
Yeah.
But I told them in no uncertain terms that this bullying would stop. And we didn't allow it at our school. And that they wouldn't be permitted to ride that bus again if it continued. But apparently I must have overstepped my position.
And apparently, so what lesson did the kids learn? The kids then saw that you were never allowed on the bus again.
Right.
Unbelievable!
Well, they knew if they came to me, there would be justice. But if I took a recess away from a student, I got a phone call the next day and was told that I was being too harsh. But we had 3 recesses a day, one in the morning, one at lunch, and one in the afternoon. And I didn't think taking away one recess for a fight or bullying or whatever was that big of a deal. But apparently to some parents, you're not to discipline their children.
Oh, God help you. Thank you so much for the call.
Also, I wanted to ask you, when I try to replay your show and I miss it at 10 o'clock, the sound is always broken up. And I just wondered, is that my computer or is that a problem on your end?
Jess says, where are you? Are you listening on a computer or on a...
Yes.
What?
Yes, I am.
Are you getting it from iTunes or how do you get the show? From
the live audio stream.
Okay, we'll check into it. You're doing the live audio stream, okay?
Yes, if I try to tune in later on during the day, the sound is always broken up.
Oh, God, this place. Okay.
Thank you, Lynn. Have a great day.
We'll try to fix it. You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Does anything work? Does anything work? Huh?
She heard you.
I have been remiss in something, and sorry, guys, I'm going to do it. Why am I apologizing for this? Should have done it on Memorial Day or near it. And the dispiriting news, the depressing news that we have now reached the 2,000 number in Afghanistan of American service members killed in that war that's been going on now for over 10 years. 2,000 killed, I can't even begin to imagine how many maimed, either physically or emotionally, because that number would be mind-boggling. One of the reasons, and we've talked about this, that the death tolls are nowhere near what you would expect for a war 10 years in duration or 11 years in duration, just 2,000, you would think, wow. Well, that's because of advances in, medical technology and in the ways and in the way you can get immediate help to people, evacuate them immediately, whatever, so that people who would have been goners for sure in Vietnam live. They might live without limbs. They might live without sight. They might live deaf, battered, burned, whatever, but you don't count them as dead. But 2,000 have died there now. And as you know, I really disapprove of the fact that we have this all-volunteer military, because the only reason that Americans have become so quick to go to war is because they don't have to fight it. Their children don't have to fight it. The reason there was such a hue and cry about Vietnam is that was a war in which everybody's kid was vulnerable. So people looked a little more carefully about, okay, so why are we fighting this again? Why might my son have to die? And it didn't make any sense. It didn't make enough sense, I'll tell you that. It wasn't a clear and present danger like World War II presented. And so people were in the streets. Now, isn't that interesting that since then the military has wanted, and it seems government wants in general, the volunteer army, because they don't want to have that problem ever again. They want to fight with people who volunteer to fight, because if they have a draft, that means citizens will pay attention to these chronic, it seems around here, drumbeats for war. It's so easy to send other people's children, right? And it's a dangerous thing in a democracy. So I am so against it. I am so against it. I absolutely want the draft reinstated. I want it more than a draft. I want public service, national public service required of every citizen. And it's the only way we can rebuild a sense of nationhood in this divided country. The only way. That to whom much is given, all these freedoms we've gotten, there should be something asked. And since the citizens of this country don't even want to pay taxes anymore, which goes into the common pot that then gives us the services that government can provide, the citizens, the so-called citizens, I don't call them that, they're like leeches, the citizens of these United States have nothing, they have no skin in the game, and they don't want to. They've even lost track of what it is the government is and what a peoplehood is and a nation is. Although they're quick to wave the flag, quick to go to war. I don't know. So the least we can do, right? The least we can do is pause a moment just to say and or hear the names of our fellow Americans, young people, or fathers, husbands, brothers, friends, siblings, people who we will never, whose unbelievable skills, talent, spirits are snuffed out. And we pay no attention. So here is the list of the names that I have not yet read as the count of dead in Afghanistan has hit the 2,000 mark. Jared Lallier, age 20, Private, Army, Spokane, Washington. Nicholas Fredsey, 30, Sergeant, Army, San Diego. Joseph M. Lilly, 25, Sergeant, Army, Flint, Michigan. Barrett McNabb, 33, Sergeant, First Class, Army, Chino Valley, Arizona. Trevor Pinnock, 20, Specialist, Army, Lawrenceville, Illinois. Brandon Goodine, 20, Private, Army, Luthersville, Georgia. Richard Kessler, Jr., 47, Master Chief Petty Officer, Navy, Gulfport, Florida. Anthony Servin, 22, Corporal, Marines, Moreno Valley, California. Vincent Ellis, 22, Private, Army, Tokyo, Japan. Matthew Fazzari, 25, First Lieutenant Army, Walla Walla, Washington. Scott Pace, 39, Captain Army, Raleigh, California. Gerardo Campos, 23, Specialist Army, Miami. Leroy Durand III, 22, Private Army, Jersey City. Kenneth Jacobs, 21, Specialist Army, Denver. Alexander Povolitis, 47, Staff Sergeant Army, Dawsonville, Georgia. Joshua Witzman, 23, Lance Corporal, Marines, Covington, Indiana. Sean Brazos, Petty Officer, 2nd Class, Navy, Greensboro, North Carolina. Roberto Loaiza, 28, Staff Sergeant Army, El Paso. Nicholas Olivas, 20, Corporal Army, Fairfield, Ohio. John Brainerd, 26, Captain Army, Dover, Foxcroft, Maine. John Pratt, Chief Warrant Officer, Army, 51 years old. Tofiga Totolo, 23, Specialist Army, Wilmington, California. Tobias Alexander, 30, 2nd Lieutenant Army, Lawton, Oklahoma. Jesse Osbett, 28, Captain Army, Prince George, Virginia. Samuel T. Watts, 20, Specialist Army, Wheaton, Illinois. Keaton Coffey, 22, Corporal, Marines, Boring, Oregon. Vilmar Galarza Hernandez, 21, Specialist Army, Salinas, California. Cale C. Miller, 23, Private Army, Overland Park, Kansas. Eric D. Warren, Hospitalman, Navy, Shawnee, Oklahoma. Michael Knapp, 28, Sergeant Army, Overland Park, Kansas. Jabron Knox, 23, Sergeant Army, Fort Wayne, Indiana. Richard McNulty III, 22, Private Army, Rolla, Missouri. Israel Nuenas, 38, Staff Sergeant Army, Las Cruces, New Mexico. Brian Walker, 25, Sergeant Army, Lucerne Valley, California. Alejo Thompson, 30, First Lieutenant Army, Yuma, Arizona. Jorge Luis Velasquez, 35, Petty Officer, 2nd Class, Navy. Juno M.L. Cochilis, 34, Specialist Army, Charlotte, North Carolina. Dustin Gross, 19, Private Army, Jeffersonville, Kentucky. Chase Marta, 24, Specialist Army, Chico, California. David Rylander, 23, 2nd Lieutenant Army, Stowe, Ohio. Jacob Schwally, 22, Sergeant Army, Clarksville, Tennessee. Gregory Childs, 38, Master Sergeant Army, Warren, Arkansas. Thomas Fogarty, 30, Staff Sergeant, Alameda, California. Zachary Hargrove, 32, Staff Sergeant Army, Wichita, Kansas. John Hewling, 25, Sergeant Marines, Westchester, Ohio. Adam Bias, 21, Corporal Marines, Salem, Oregon.
Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com or call Lynn at 412-316-3381. Lynn Cullen Live will return in a moment.
Pittsburgh City Paper is seeking 10 local artists to design their own street box for a public art project to be featured throughout the city of Pittsburgh. Go to pghcitypaper.com and click on the Art Box link for more details. The Pittsburgh City Paper Art Box Project, brought to you by McDonald's.
You in the City and Hosanna House Summer Nights present Jazz Under the Stars, starring Najee, Friday, July 13th. 8 p.m. at the Sherwood Events Center in Wilkinsburg. Tickets available at Dorsey's, Stediford's, or charge by phone at 1-800-383-5760. Najee, live in concert July 13th. Proceeds benefit Hosanna House, a place called Hope.
Vote now. Who will be the chosen one in Pittsburgh City Paper's annual Best of Readers poll and register to win a new iPad? Pittsburgh City Paper, available at over 1,700 locations throughout Western Pennsylvania, and on the web at pghcitypaper.com, and on your smartphone at citypapermobile.com.
Gustavo and Vella wants to thank all of southwestern Pennsylvania, the USA, and the world for helping to liberate his native country of Equatorial Guinea. Equatorial Guinea has suffered 43 years of dictatorship, 43 years of human rights abuses, 43 years of corruption, and 43 years of kleptocracy. Even with $5 billion in oil revenue in 2011, the 700,000 citizens of Equatorial Guinea earn less than $2 per day. A proud Mount Lebanon resident, please help Gustavo and Vella usher in the 21st century by allowing freedom, democracy, and socioeconomic prosperity by the rule of law for the next 43 years and beyond. Email him at presidentandvella@yahoo.com to help free Equatorial Guinea.
Have a question or an opinion? Call Lynn Cullen at 412-316-3381 or email lynn@pghcitypaper.com. Now, more with Lynn Cullen Live.
That takes the stuffing out of me. My son is 20. He's just a boy. I don't care if he thinks he isn't. He's a boy. He's still unformed. He doesn't even, we even know the prefrontal cortex or something isn't, the judgment area isn't even completely formed in us until well into our 20s. Unbelievable. So, interesting question posed by one of you emailing. Where would a young Mitt Romney have been on that bus in Greece, New York? Where indeed, since we do know that he was a leader of bullies at his school, even older than these kids. These are 13-year-olds. He was almost a senior, I believe, when he was part of that gang that humiliated and taunted the gay kid in his dorm. Gays, old people, vulnerable people. That's who bullies always go for. And I think it says something about a person. As I said at the time when this news about Romney came out, to dismiss it as, oh, he was a kid. No, your character is pretty well formed when you're, I think by the time you're, 6, I don't know, you know right from wrong at that age. If you have empathy, then you're not a bully. So it says something about anybody at almost any time, except when they're maybe toddlers, that if you treat a fellow human being like he treated that boy, or like these boys treated this woman, it says something about who you are. Now, maybe there are boys, and I know that some of the kids who were in that gang that Romney led have said that they can never forget that instance because they're appalled at their behavior. So they did grow more after that. But you'll recall that Romney's response to this is that he doesn't even remember it, which says something. And even if he did remember it, and he sort of, it says a ton about him. And to say it doesn't is nuts. Jewel writes, "You're coming in loud and clear in Florida." Well, that's good, because there's people down the street who can't hear us. No, if you call in, you can't hear. Apparently, you can't hear me very well. Although we haven't had that complaint voiced by either of our callers today. So you recall that we had a bow-tied adjunct professor from Duquesne University on the show. Robin, what's his name? Robin something or other. And he was so eloquent and just great. And he's part of the effort at Duquesne to unionize the adjunct professors. And since then, there have been developments, and perhaps you're aware of them. He had seemed to suggest when he was here that Duquesne was really being very, very good on the other side, that they seemed to be bargaining or were willing to bargain in good faith, blah, blah, blah. We're willing to have, the NLRB come in and oversee an election. And then no sooner had he said that and was out the door than all of a sudden all heck breaks loose. And Duquesne said, "This is a threat to our religious liberty." What? Excuse me? What? It's especially confusing since Duquesne already has unions on their campus that they negotiate with. Duquesne said that they cannot allow the National Labor Relations Board, a governmental entity, to have jurisdiction over it, a religious institution, which is such bull that you can't even, you swoon. Swoon! They say this and then turn around and bargain agreements with 4 existing unions that are already on campus. There was an op-ed piece, I don't know how long, maybe it was a week ago or so, written by a guy named Patrick Riley, president of the Cardinal Newman Society. And he writes the most over-the-top, ludicrous thing I've ever read. I was going to talk about it for weeks, and I thought, I can't. I don't even know what to say. Duquesne University is facing a threat to its religious liberty. You know what the threat is? A regional director of the National Labor Relations Board ruled on Monday that the university must accept board jurisdiction, even though Duquesne is a Catholic institution. What is going on with the church? It's one of those things. It's like, don't cry wolf here, guys. When you start saying your religious liberty is endangered because some of your PhD professors want to be given a living wage, and you see that as a threat to your religious liberty, then you don't know what a threat to religious liberty looks like. You want a threat to religious liberty? Head over to some other country where Christians are being murdered, where Jews are being murdered, where people, are not allowed to worship. You want to know what it looks like not to have religious liberty? Head over to Saudi Arabia, one of our dear allies. This is absurd on its face. It's so laughable that you don't even blah, 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 blah. You don't know what to say. So anyway, there's a piece in today's paper by the one of the general counsels of the Steelworkers Union who respond. I mean, man, he hits a home run with this stuff. He looks at the Catholic canon law, and he says, and he quotes it, Catholic canon law requires, this is the church, requires institutions such as Duquesne University to both treat its workers fairly and to honor the governing civil labor laws. It's right there in black and white. The number, Canon 1286, requires that a Duquesne University or any institution are to observe meticulously the civil laws concerning labor and employment of workers according to the principles handed on by the church. And what are those principles? Here they come, again, from canon law. Quote, to pay a just and decent wage to employees so that they are able to provide fittingly for their own needs and those of their dependents. Do you know what these adjunct professors are paid at most? $15,000 a year. These are people with PhDs. $15,000 a year. No security whatsoever. They don't even know until 2 weeks before the next semester starts whether they will have a class or a job. No benefits whatsoever. In other words, they are not paid a living wage. And so many of these adjuncts hold down a whole other job and or two. And in the case of the professor who was here, he happens to have a wife who actually has a job that pays benefits. Think of what it costs to send your kids to college. Think of what they're charging you. They sure as hell ain't spreading the wealth when it comes to the employees that they hire to teach your children. Do you want to spend what you spend to send a child to, like a Duquesne University, and know that their professor is making $15,000 a year? Unbelievable. So Dan Kovalik, who is this guy from the Steelworkers, says today in this piece in the Post-Gazette, it is not the National Labor Relations Board which threatens Duquesne's professed Catholic values, but Duquesne's own conduct in invoking its religious faith to act against its own religious tenets, which require it to act honestly and to treat its workers fairly and with dignity. Case closed. Oops. Do I have to take a break? I sure do. Okay, well, Duquesne stands, convicted. No word yet on you-know-who in Happy Valley. Quick break.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen Live after this.
BergBargains.com for great deals on tickets to the Science Center, Symphony, History Museum, and the Carnegie Museums. Check out this week's big deal featuring 50% off tickets to En Vogue at Heinz Hall on June 29th. BergBargains.com, Pittsburgh's only online deal site where the deals don't expire. BergBargains.com.
This is the sound of a flat-screen television hurled off a building. Now the new bike your kid wants. These are the things you could have all cast into oblivion. Because when you throw away money on wasted electricity, you throw away everything you could have bought with it. Use Energy Star light bulbs and appliances, and you could save hundreds of dollars a year. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Energy and the Ad Council.
Get Lynn Cullen live on your smartphone. Go to citypapermobile.com now for Pittsburgh City Paper's brand new mobile app. Get the latest restaurant reviews, event listings, movie times, and of course, Lynn Cullen live on your smartphone. citypapermobile.com.
You're listening to Lynn Cullen live at pghcitypaper.com. Once again, here's Lynn Cullen.
All righty, hey guys, this is gonna make your head spin, but I came across this in the New York Times today, and you talk about total disconnect in terms of how workers are paid and or respected and or given. Just listen to this. I mean, in America, we are so, because we've lived in a culture forever that treats workers like crap. I hate to tell you this, like crap. It's hard to believe when you hear what other workers in other nations just assume is part of the deal when they give their labor to somebody. Now, we can argue whether it goes too far that way, but we know we've gone way too far the other way, where workers have next to no security, where their retirements are not in any way, their security and retirement's not guaranteed, their health care needs are not at all guaranteed, living wages not guaranteed, all of this stuff. And we take that as, well, that's the way America works. That's it. Well, okay, so here I take you to Brussels, to the highest court in Europe. Now, this transcends the supreme courts of the countries of Europe if they belong to the European Union, because like the United States, it's a union now, and there's a court above it all. That's the highest court. And it's called the Court of Justice of the European Union. It handed down a ruling that is unbelievable. Here's the ruling. I'm just gonna paraphrase it. So, if you're a worker anywhere in the EU, and by the way, the minimal thing you've got is 4 weeks paid vacation. Minimal from day one, okay? Many have 6, 7 weeks, okay. So let's say you schedule your vacation for, right now in the summer, and you go on vacation and you get sick. And you spend what was supposed to be this wonderful vacation sick as a dog. This has happened to me. Who hasn't this happened to? Mm-hmm. You go on your vacation and you get sick. And you think, well, damn it, if I hadn't taken the vacation, I'd still be at home in bed, but it'd be my sick leave I'd be using, assuming you have it. And fewer and fewer, of course, American workers have such a thing. But so a worker who this happened to, a Spanish worker, who came back from his 4-week vacation, and he said, hey, I was sick the whole time. I want my vacation now, because I'm going to say that 4 weeks is sick leave because I didn't get my vacation. I was too sick. And his employer said, you're kidding me, right? And said, forget about it. He took this case. It got all the way to the highest court in the EU, and the highest court said, if you get sick on your vacation, your employer must give you an entirely new vacation. Oh, my God. The ruling applies across the EU's 27 nations. In the ruling, the court said the purpose of this entitlement to paid annual vacation is to enable the worker to rest and enjoy a period of relaxation. Hence, if they get sick, they're not able to do that. So they get to try again. Americans can no more get their heads around such a thing. We just can't. We can't do it at all. Is that unbelievable? Can you see the U.S. Supreme Court coming down with such a ruling? Unbelievable. Now, I know you could argue, this is why the EU is in such trouble. Nobody's working over there. But, you know, that's not why. We've been in trouble, similar kind of trouble, and are still threatening to be in similar kind of trouble. And God knows we're working our asses off this side of the pond. So, guys, I'm going to call it a day a little bit early because I've got some vehicles to catch, and I will not be here on Monday, but we'll start all up again on Tuesday. So let me take this opportunity to wish you a healthy weekend. And if you're on vacation, I hope you don't get sick, because around here, that's it. That's just your vacation ruined. That's what it's going to be. And whatever. Have a good one. See you Tuesday.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.